this is why we named it this. But
Who knows? Okay, we're live on YouTube. Hey, everyone. Hope y'all are having a great time. If you're not having a great time, then we'll give one to you right now.
he sings too.
I'm in a good mood, okay?
Hey, man. Keep it flowing, bro.
Don't take this from me. Okay, here
How
we
dare you?
go. Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR, Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 319. We hope you and yours are well, and with everything crazy going on, we want to continue to be a platform that promotes positivity, life, and hope, and a little Star Wars along the way. Today, we are going across the universe once again, 2 weeks in a row. It's never been done before. I didn't check, but it's never been done before. And we're going to be looking at the 10th anniversary of Man of Steel. But before we jump over buildings in a single bound, let's see who we got here. Mr. Todd Hoffman.
What's up? I came ill prepared. I should have been wearing my Superman shirt, but I'm here.
Oh.
Both of us, dude. What are we thinking? We should have been and then when the main topic starts, let's take them off. I'm like, see, I wasn't that guy that
Not
I
too
thought
late.
you were.
Not too late.
There you go. You got glasses. Good. So, yes, I'm
Okay.
excited.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Carlos got the night off, so Todd, it's up to you to tease the news.
I will carry this with a heavy burden here. Okay. It's a whole new world. Is the first.
Hey, he sings.
Yeah, he sings too. Off the Rails is the second one.
Whoa.
Yep. Maybe the show will go off the rails soon. We never know. And old but new.
Okay.
And then Crack That Whip. Probably not too hard to figure out that last one, but get out your decoder rings.
Probably a bad time for someone and a fun time for someone else.
That's right.
We shall find out.
Through those topics in a little bit.
Sweet. Okay. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our main topic. Okay. It is time for Man of Steel. It's a super duperman movie. Therefore, I am no longer Clark Kent. I am Superman. But I will not be tearing off my shirt because it'll be a little too hot for YouTube.
Right. Exactly.
All right, Todd, what are we talking about today?
So, Man of Steel is this is the bio. Alien child is evacuated from his dying world and sent to Earth to live among. His peace is threatened when other survivors of his home planet invade Earth. It's pretty cool.
That's a bit of a strange synopsis, don't you think?
Weird? That's straight up from boxofficemojo.com. I don't know if I dig this little bio, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you're describing the movie to like a robot or an alien. When like everybody knows who Superman is.
This AI write this or something?
I would not be surprised, but they are. Brief side tangent, like everybody's freaking out about AI taking your jobs. Like they're not going to replace all the jobs. They're going to replace like all the like really easy, low tier, low effort kind of writing like you find on like Screen Rant or CNET or whatever. That's the kind of like writing
pretty
that it's going to replace.
All our WSTR news articles, we just like, hey man.
I would not be surprised if some of them have been written by AI, which we'll actually get to that. But yeah, Man of Steel. Weird synopsis.
A weird synopsis, but we know what Superman's about. Come on, this is kind of a very abstract way of saying what Superman's about. Okay, so just to get into numbers, just so you understand that it was released on June 14th. So yesterday, 10 years ago, came out. We just missed it. But that's okay. It grew 1 million, 77 million. So get out your calculators. $668 million with a budget of $225 million. Dang, man, that's an expensive movie. Released by Warner Brothers. And this
boy, Zack Snyder. Little did we know about the Snyder Universe back in the day here.
This was, is this his first one, Aaron?
His first like superhero movie?
Well, because Zack Snyder made his name on 300 because not only did it look cool, but it was minimal sets, minimal, and he was able to basically sleeper blockbuster hit. That's where he 225.
Yeah, but he did get some clout with Dawn of the Dead, that remake in 2004.
2004, okay.
Which I guess led to 300.
300, okay.
But there, yeah,
but
300 and then Watchmen, and then
Watchmen was first.
Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole, for some reason.
The Legend.
And then he had a Sucker Punch right before Man of Steel.
Okay. Sucker Punch is
so
cool.
Yeah, you're kind of right. I think Dawn of the Dead was kind of the first thing that really got people's attention, and then 300 kind of really put him on the map as far as like his distinct style.
Gotcha. Yeah, he distinct style, which makes when you're going to movies similar to Spielberg, Lucas, and all the great. That's part of what makes unique style.
And there's some familiarity within the pictures, even though they might be totally different.
That is
okay.
So this is a very profitable affair, even though I'm up on that 225 million. Like, that's crazy. Okay. So, and before we get to the plot, Man of Steel, because of this alien child and stuff, what are your overall impressions of Man of Steel?
Oh, I think this might be the worst depiction of Superman, except for Batman vs Superman. I'm not really a fan of this. I'm afraid to say.
You are not digging.
Yeah, as a movie, it looks really nice. And that's about all the nice things I could say about it. I think the characters don't make sense. The story is all over the place. I think it really does a disservice to who Superman is as a character.
Wow,
and
dude.
The action itself is just this gigantic cacophony that, like, I actually felt like I was being attacked at the theater.
Are you talking about at the end of the film or throughout?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly at the end was when it got like just completely out of control.
Yes.
But it kind of like spikes in different parts. Like when Superman's in Smallville, aka Plano, Illinois.
Yeah, shout out to Plano, baby.
Yeah, that's the only thing notable about it, except for Plano injection molding.
Oh my god.
And yeah, so it got like super loud and out of control there too. So yeah, Todd, I'm not much a fan of this film, but I do find it really interesting to talk about, especially in terms of like the career of Zack Snyder and how that led to like Justice League and everything past that.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into that a little bit. I think I'm kind of with you. Like, this one's all over the place for me. Kevin Costner as the dad, as his dad, and I liked the casting. I like the Homestead stuff. I like that kind of stuff, but the end just is awful. It's like, what is a good word for it? It's like destruction porn. It's just like way too much. It's just like way too much. And to me, it misses the character of who Superman is. The fact, like, not anything against Henry. Like, I think Henry is perfectly casted for this film. I think he is a really good Superman. But he is for the people. He protects the people. He embodies, basically Superman is like embodies humanity, and he's the best of us. He's supposed to be the best of us, even though he's not of this world. But again, Superman takes moral backing from his Kansas farm, Smallville, but the end is just like so over the top, and just like buildings are falling and things are dying and people are evacuating them. Superman would try to minimize this as much as possible. And it's just like, maybe that's where like 200 of that 200 million of that is like that end scene. It's just like, dude, it's like, it's almost too much, I don't know.
Yeah. Here's what I think is what they were trying to do and what's kind of interesting about this movie. This was the first Superman movie since I think Superman Returns. And it feels like what they're trying to do is kind of like reimagine Superman in a kind of more modern contemporary setting, and kind of ask like, what would it actually be like somewhat realistically if Superman came to the world today, not the world in the 20s or 30s, or kind of that like idealized golden age of superheroes kind of thing.
And like the wholesome family, like you know what I'm saying, like that Leave It to Beaver kind of 19, rainbows. This is obviously more edgy, harder, like the real stuff, man.
Yeah. And I find that interesting because when we get to like the golden age and silver age of superheroes, Superman is kind of the ideal for humanity, at least like America, not like exclusively America. That's more Captain America's thing, but he's kind of the ideal that every human should like look up to, kind of from like a Western point of view. And he's basically like Earth's protector in the time of the Cold War, where literally like the world could end. And in that kind of like black and white kind of thinking, he's a really great character to believe in and an ideal to strive towards. It gets a lot more murky in more ways than one in the modern world, where you have all these kinds of different competing interests, and our understanding of like black and evil, good guys, bad guys doesn't really work anymore. And so I find the movie interesting that as like our time and culture has shifted, the Superman has kind of been this like linchpin, or like that's not quite the right word, but the way that we think about Superman changes over time and as our culture does, and kind of reflects our highest ideals at different times. So so at one point we're just happy with Superman being able to jump over buildings and destroy the giant robot that's gonna destroy the town. But now with Man of Steel, by the time we get there, we're kind of past the more cheesy, like Christopher Reeves kind of era of Superman.
Watch
I haven't seen
yourself.
Superman Returns. Apparently, that did pretty good. I know. I'm just saying, like, this is post 9/11. We are like firmly in the war on terror. This is after the 2008 like economic collapse. Like, the world sucks. And the idea of this kind of like,
how are we surviving?
Well, the idea of this kind of like brightly colored underwear wearing Superman man in tights who's gonna, you know, Clark
Save your
Kent by
cat.
day, Superman by night.
Yeah.
Like that just it doesn't work anymore. It's of a bygone era. It's comforting in some ways, but in a very superficial way. So I get the idea of what they want to do with Man of Steel, where you need to reimagine him.
You want to modernize it, and I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems like the way that they did it, they made all the wrong decisions. Like Zack Snyder, I like his visual style. I like his the way that he plays around with time and framing, and the way that characters just kind of stand out in a frame when he composes his shots. But what I don't like about him, he's kind of in the same camp for me as someone like Eli Roth, where I don't like him as a person, and it's hard to separate the art from the artist in that instance, where it just colors my perception of their work. I know it shouldn't, but it's hard to separate that sometimes, and it's easier to do that with some artists than others. But it's really hard for me to do that with
Zach.
With Zach. So and the vibe I get from him is that he is like a jock who got an A in philosophy once, and he thinks he knows what he's doing with a lot of different aspects of what he does, and he's good at some of it but not great at others. And what I think his view of Superman was okay, this is a dark time for America, the world. We're all struggling. How do we interpret Superman with this? And his idea was, make everything darker, make everything more morally gray. Right. And Superman, he latches on to the idea of Superman as this like almost like demigod or like godlike being who is so like unlike humanity. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he read Atlas Shrugged and he really liked it. And he really latched on to objectivism. That's basically like the concept of man as a heroic being with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity and reason as his only absolute. This is the whole like, this is the opposite of the adage, no man is an island unto himself. Objectivism is like, if he's good enough and he's strong enough, then he can be. And that's how Zack Snyder sees all his superheroes. He sees Superman as he's just such a badass that he doesn't have to care about humanity, and we should still worship him because of that. Like, if only we were good enough, then we would be on his level and understand that we're not worth saving anyways. It's really weird because that's not how Superman has ever been. What do you think about that?
Because I unfortunately we have to fast forward a little bit, like to like Justice League and like Superman can be scary. Like when he's like, there's that one part where he gets corrupted or he comes back from whether he was dead and then he came back or whatever. And he's scared and he's scary. And it's like, you realize, like, I said, almost like a demigod. Like, you feel like, oh my gosh, he's not for us and he's against us, and he doesn't, like, in a sense, like, he's stripped down from his ethos. He doesn't know technically who is. He's just powerful. I'm like, yeah, Superman. You don't want to mess. Superman's like scary,
Yeah.
So I get that. Like I totally get that. Like this dude is powerful and you get that. But like I think like the success of Batman and what Nolan did in the Batman, they're like, okay, we got to do the same thing with Superman. I just don't think it. Like I totally agree with everything you said about time and things are different, and the guy in the tights and the Chris like small town thing doesn't really work, and so we need to modernize it. I totally get that, but I feel like this is just a miss. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I'm glad you brought up
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up The Dark Knight because that feels like the first stepping stone for this. Where again, you have a reimagining of a long ago superhero, but set in modern times. And what's great about The Dark Knight is that it makes it really grounded and realistic, and in a way that really works for Batman.
It works for Batman because Batman's a dude. He's not some alien from another planet. Again, the producer is Nolan. Nolan's one of the producers on this picture. Just throw that in.
I always forget that.
Bucket. Yeah. So Nolan's, because I think, again, they are just, Warner Brothers, DC is so behind at this point with Marvel. They're just like something, and again, Henry's awesome. I like Amy Adams is not bad as a Lois Lane. You got Kevin Costner, Lawrence Fishburne, Russell Crowe. I mean, you got some good heavy hitters in this picture. I don't know, man. It just it misses the mark, and I don't know if it's just like that modernization or I don't know, man.
Here's where I think it went wrong for poor old Zack. I think he really latched onto the idea of Superman as this kind of foreign entity. Like, this is an alien who is like way more powerful than we even know how to handle, or like how to deal with him. And we should be scared of him because it is only by his own good graces that he doesn't wipe all of us out and decides to defend us. I think that's a part of Superman's character, but it's missing. It's not complete. And the whole thing is that, yes, Superman is this incredibly powerful protector, and if his moral compass was askew, then yes, he could be this kind of terrifying threat against us.
You get the red
there's even
sun.
This.
You get the red sun Superman.
I was about to say, yeah. Yeah, and there's different.
He's corrupted by the kryptonite, right? The red kryptonite, and bro, you ain't messing with that kind of Superman. To me, I know, like you mentioned, All-Star Superman last week, without even knowing. This is how your brain works.
That's right.
Without even knowing we're prize, and you got on this tangent about All-Star Superman. I'm a little jaded with Superman. Like, I always am Batman. I'm number one Batman. So a little opinionated by that, but I speak about 300. I like the Frank Miller Superman, where he's the Boy Scout. He is the symbol of government. Like, he the corporate government owns and like that's the Superman. Like, he wants to play he's like, it's kind of like I'm gonna make a Star Wars reference. It's like the Jedi Council's like answering to the government, and like they're more powerful than the government, but they're subdued by the government. And I like that version of Superman where he's like, I'm real, but I'm just a boy and I do whatever, Ronald Reagan or the president tells me to do. And I like that kind of corporate Superman. I'm just like that's a version I like. Dude, the government's corrupt, and you're not helping matters. You're making things worse.
Yeah.
Like, get out of my way. I just like that kind of like, because Batman's like anti-system, and Superman's like pro United States, pro government. It's like the government's not that great.
Yeah.
They're just controlling you, and I like political little bit version of Superman. That's the Superman I kind of like, because it's like he's kind of subdued by the government, and I just like that. I like the Batman versus Superman thing. Just because he is
an alien.
Like, I get that part. I just feel
Yeah.
like I don't know. That's my Superman, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Now that Frank Miller version,
Yes.
I think that's really interesting, because it sets up a great dichotomy between Superman and Batman, where Superman, they're both like good people trying to do the right
Yes.
thing, but in
Yes.
very different ways, and they have very
Yes.
different ideas about how that works. Superman is about following the rules, law and order.
Right.
Batman is about anarchy, doing things his own way, taking the law into
Right.
his own hands. So
Yes.
I find that dichotomy interesting, but what I think is missing there is kind of what's missing with Man of Steel. And the idea, the question is like, if you have this all-powerful alien, like what kind of corrals him and makes him a good person? And like, why does he decide to defend humanity, to sacrifice of himself? And we have very different answers from these different artists. The kind of Zack Snyder answer is he's just that powerful, and he just kind of decides that he's going to defend humanity. And
Right.
something about sacrificing himself, I guess, do the Jesus pose. He's Jesus, right? No, that's so anemic and just missing the point that it just feels like a jumbled mess at best, and like a slap in the face at worst. Frank Miller's answer, more interesting and nuanced, where he's like, Superman has been raised from birth to follow the law, and
a good,
that's
and
what
a good moral
corrals him.
compass. Yeah, it's a moral compass. But
Yeah.
the problem is the government, the establishment is not good. And so the decisions
Right.
that they make deter even further what Superman should be standing for. But it's America, and again, like, America's not the greatest. There's a lot of sins
Right.
behind the flag, the symbol. And I think that, and so that kind of taints Superman. And that to me makes Superman interesting, because if you look at a face value, Superman is just like, if you're doing a compare chart, I mean, Superman's just like, he's almost,
Mhm.
and it makes it, for me, I have a hard time rooting for that, because it's like, well, you're off the charts, and like
And
they put in the kryptonite to make that weakness, but like, if you look at him face value, like, if I'm comparing superheroes, I mean, Superman's like, he's got everything. He's got, got everything.
yeah. Yeah, so he does have kryptonite as a weakness. I find it more interesting when it's the people that he cares about that are threatened, and like that's how you get to
Yes.
Superman.
Yes.
That's the whole like
Correct.
Injustice story arc, where
Right.
there's this alternate timeline where Lois Lane gets killed by the Joker, and Superman just kind of like snaps and becomes this super like angry dictator.
Right. Right. Exactly.
But what I think is, and I appreciate Frank Miller's take on it. I don't think it's the best, but I appreciate it, because to me, I think he sees Superman as kind of Captain America, or emblematic of like American ideals, truth, justice, in the American way. And
right.
his storyline is a critique on that, which I totally respect. But again, I don't think is the true essence of Superman.
No, it's not. I realize that too. It's not. I mean, like, I totally agree with you too. Like weakness is the people he cares for. Like
Yes.
and
And
the one really good scene in this, like, and how he controls his powers and when he does it, like, there's that part where the tornadoes come in and he's trying to save people, and his dad is going out saving people too. But then, like,
yeah.
and he wants him to save his mom, but don't. It's not worth the exposure. It's not your time yet, and
Uh-huh.
lets him go. I really like that scene. I thought that was really well done and executed, because it's like your time's not yet. It's not coming yet, and it's like, okay, that was a you know
I'm glad you like that scene because it totally bounced off of me. I thought like,
okay.
Pa Kent, no, don't be dumb. Like, he could just come and save you. Like, this is totally
Right.
unnecessary. Don't do it.
Right.
But then he just
Right.
puts out a hand and he's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Not yet.
But here's the question I want to get at, which I think Man of Steel, it didn't try to do this, but it brings up the question anyway. And it's like, what
Yeah.
makes someone a good person? Which we can think about through the lens of Superman.
Right.
According to Zack Snyder, it's like might makes right. Like, if you're just like that much of a badass, then whatever you do is right. And Superman just kind of happens to save people, and he kind of pays lip service to saving them. But there's this whole montage where I can't remember if it's Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. There's this whole montage where he's like saving people, and he just has this like disgusted look on his face, like he can't even
he doesn't
believe that
really
he's
wanna
like saving these people.
He doesn't
Yeah.
want to really be
And, like,
there. Yeah.
People are like reaching out to him and like worshiping him, and oh my god, but he just seems like
Yeah.
totally like disconnected. And it's like, what is this? This is not Superman. The whole point
No.
of Superman is that he's like alien, but he's like half alien, half human, not biologically, but like how he was raised. And the Frank Miller answer
Correct.
to like what makes a good person, it's this dialogue between Superman, who's like follow the rules, and Batman, who's
Right.
like take the law into your own hands.
Right.
But in All-Star Superman especially, but in many more iterations of it than this, what makes Superman good is his upbringing by Ma and Pa Kent, and they are just like good people. And the reason that he cares about humanity and the reason he has a good moral compass is because his parents are just like that loving and supportive and just good people, that they impart that kind of moral upbringing to him. And that's what I think is missing from Man of Steel, because you have that scene where the kind of adolescent Superman is like, should I have let the bus full of children die? And Pa Kent is like, maybe. Like, what? No, that's not
No.
what you teach your son. It's like, what are you doing?
Maybe.
I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to understand like how complicated growing up as Superman would be.
It would be.
But
right.
That is not the response Ma or Pa Kent would have. They're trying to raise their son right, and they are the reason why Superman cares about humanity and wants to save them, wants to aspire to be a fantastic example for them to live up to. It is that Ma and Pa Kent are like kind of the emotional core of that. And I bring this up because there's a wonderful Warner Brothers animation of Superman. I think it's Superman the Animated Series. It might be another one of them.
Right.
But they have a Christmas episode where they just like bring some people home for Christmas. And shout out to Josiah for, if you're listening, to for pointing this out to me. But he ends up bringing the Martian Manhunter over to the Kent household for Christmas, and he's never had a Christmas. He doesn't like know anything about Christmas, but he gets to feel the Christmas, like the joy of
Spirit.
Christmas, just by how his parents treat him. Like they make him a sweater, they give him a gift where he totally wasn't expecting one. He didn't bring anything, and he's like, he receives a gift, and he's like, "But I didn't bring you any gift." And they're like, just you being here is a gift, and it's just this like touching moment of like love and joy that they give to this complete alien, just like their son. And
yes, true.
he like has this like profound moment of like Christmas joy, and it's like, that's Mon Pa Kent, not maybe you should have let those bus full of kids die, son.
maybe.
Ugh.
I know.
That's why I have a bug up my butt about Man of Steel.
Yeah. Well, I get if we look at the Superman, we get the Phantom Zone and Zod and Superman 2, right? So they go this again in Man of Steel and bring that up front. So I did like the front part where they kind of show, Krypton, and we get to see a little bit sci-fi stuff, like, oh, well, they're a totally different race and blah, blah, blah. You bring in Zod right away, and that's where it's like, I don't know. This loses it for me. The back half of this film, it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's not really a compelling villain.
No. And then, like I said, they just literally destroy.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just.
I think part of it was like a CGI flex. I think part of it was someone thought somewhere along the way, like, well, if Superman and Zod got in a fight in New York City, wouldn't they like collide into buildings and destroy them a lot? And someone was like, oh yeah. And then they decided to destroy all the buildings, just as much as possible. Just as much collateral damage as is feasible in this kind of fight. And it's like, Superman, what are you doing? I thought you wanted to like protect people. I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, this is the little bit in like Batman versus Superman where we get to see Bruce Wayne's perspective, and I was like, okay, I like this because Batman saving
that was a neat way to try to rescue it. Yeah.
Yes, it's a neat way to say Batman's actually saving people and Superman's just stuff. Like he's just blowing it up. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
And that's I get that part. I like that part, but I just think it's so out of character. You mentioned when they go to blowing up stuff there was because that's his hometown. Like he lives in that, and so it almost becomes like it doesn't mean anything to him, and that's not man either. Like that's his high school, that's his burger place that he hangs out with. Like these are all little things that are getting blown. The movie theater or whatever. I mean, everything. Like it's just like, but those things would mean something to him, a little.
Yeah.
You
would think, but
you film it the way where you have like a quick flashback where he's at that restaurant when he's a kid, or him and his dad are having a conversation. Like, make it so he's getting angry because he's destroying stuff of his memories or of his past. But we don't get any of this whole town up, and then like you said, he becomes almost like at the end it's just like we're just blowing up buildings just to blow up buildings, so
again, it's because Superman is that much cooler than humans and just that much greater that it doesn't really even matter to him,
right?
And it's like, man, that's not who Superman should be.
I know. Okay, we got some fun facts because it is the 10th anniversary. We got to bring this up just
baby,
just a smidge. Okay, This is coming from IMDb. Henry refused to take steroids. No steroids.
Whoa!
He refused to be digitally touched up or enhanced his body in the shirtless scenes. He said it would be him to use trickery while playing Superman. He wanted to push the limits to develop physique into one that is worthy of the character.
I actually believe that. Strangely enough, like
yeah,
he's blessed with really great genetics.
yes,
but if you know what to look for, like, it's a weird fun fact that I got from weightlifting, bodybuilding kind of stuff. But the amount of muscle that you can pack on naturally is determined largely by like your skeletal frame.
Your bone
And
structure.
he has like nice wide shoulders, nice proportional frame, and it's also limited by your wrist size and like your ankle size. Strangely enough, because like the wider it is, the more muscle can actually like attach and build out from there.
Grow.
Like, I have my mom's very very slim wrists, so I will never be as jacked as Henry Cavill. And you could tell if someone is using steroids because their muscle, depending on where they're using it, the muscles will be like too big for the frame that they have.
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it by just like talking about it, but if you know what to look for, you'll see it. And actually looking at
if you see
him in Man of Steel, it actually looks believable.
Yeah, you would see a puffy, swole dude. You look at their wrists, and you're like, oh man, he's got skinny wrists. He's taking.
Oh, Mr. Slim Wrists here.
Right.
I know what you're up to.
Right. Okay, so obviously he had 2 shirtless for months, as you know, like most actors do. An extreme difficult diet and training regimen in which a calorie from 5,000 to nearly 1,500 or 1,500 for. Okay,
that's intense. So yeah,
after
probably a
6
huge
weeks,
bulk and then a cut.
Yeah, after 6 weeks, he reached a body fat level of 7% by professional bodybuilders during competitions. So he's in full.
That's intense.
It's intense. Henry said this because he wanted to make his ab as pronounced as defined as possible to create the best possible Superman. Cavill returned to a more manageable routine after the scenes were shot, but his effort was rewarded when audience and critics the true embodiment of what Superman. After those shots were after the shots for the shirtless scenes were done, director Zack Snyder gave him pizza and a tub of ice cream and rewarded him for his Herculean effort for the shirtless scenes. I mean, that's tough.
That's pretty good.
If you know anything about those weightlifting competitions, I mean, you're running very lean to get to that kind of physique. For those competitions, and it's grueling on the body, you know. So yeah, I mean, Henry. I mean, he's got, but like you could tell, like when he puts on that suit, I mean that's all Henry. I mean, he's got the A-frame. I mean, he looks great. Naturally has a hairy chest and left it untouched for the shoot of this movie. He insisted that Superman chest hair in this film. He rejected the notion just because you're muscular, you should not have chest hair, and cited that Superman book, The Death of Superman, as being the iconic representation in which Superman had a hairy chest. Okay, so now
it was the 90s.
Henry's bringing in some like, yo, Death of Superman. That boy had hair in his chest. It says that
I think people have brought this up before, but people have wondered like how he could shave because he's like indestructible. So
right.
I remember saying, I don't know if it was part of a Superman comic or if it was like a joke, but it was like him looking into the mirror and then like using his laser eyes to like just like shave off his beard.
Yeah, I
So
would think
yeah,
that
he would have
is-
chest hair, I would think.
It says here Henry and Russell Crowe had met many years prior, playing father and son when Henry was an extra in Proof of Life in 2000. He received words of encouragement to pursue acting and an autograph from Crowe, who was his favorite actor. And so many years later, they
Whoa.
get to play that again 13 years later, which is kind of crazy. That's pretty awesome.
How about that?
And then the final fun fact, the film was released 2013, which was 75th anniversary of Superman. So now that means
Oh,
Superman is 85. 5th anniversary just happened.
all right.
So that is pretty cool, man. Well,
That's pretty neat.
I think I think we owe Aaron. We danced around this a little bit, but I think we gotta see who's the best Superman. Who's the
Okay.
best? Who's the best? So I'm
Ooh.
gonna read. I'm gonna and read everything about each Superman, but we're just gonna kind of go through them. We're gonna do MovieWeb. MovieWeb.com did this. Who ranked, and we'll come back and see if we agree or not. Okay.
All right.
It's gonna be tough. Okay. So Kurt Allen, Superman from 1948 to 1950. So he is the original Superman, and he was basically on the silver screen. So this is more of a TV kind of movie. I honestly don't know this one because this is a little bit older, but yeah, this is
I mean, I've seen
old
like
now that-
footage of him, but not
Yeah.
like
I
watched
don't.
it.
Yeah. Roth, Superman Returns, 2006. So this one, I don't remember this one. I have no idea, but
I haven't
they
seen
have
this,
it.
so
Number 6. Okay. Number 7, Bud Collier, new 1966 to 1970. He was a radio actor and voice. Okay.
oh,
He was popular in the 1940s, and then 1966, an animated series called The New Adventures of Superman followed the legend figure as he fights and protects. And
okay.
that's cool. I didn't even 1966 card. It's very intriguing to me. All right. George Reeves, Adventures of Superman, 1952 to 1958. Yeah.
Okay.
One of the classic Supermans, George Reeves. Yeah, I remember there's a lot of great stuff. So another TV Superman played by George Reeves. Very, very good. Okay, Dean Cain, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, 1993 to 1997. This was was another TV show. Yep. It was more obviously about the relationship between Lois and Clark, but yeah, Dean Cain.
Kind of looks like Tamora Morrison.
Yes, he does. Okay. Oh, my boy, Tom Welling. I love Tom. Smallville.
Oh man,
I'm a big
were
fan
you a
of
Smallville
Tom.
guy?
I was a love Smallville. I love
Mm.
it. 2001 to 2011.
All I remember is
it
seeing like
says-
commercials for it, and he's
Yeah.
like tied to like a scarecrow thing with like the kryptonite necklace.
Yes. Yes.
Like it doesn't have a belly button.
It doesn't have a belly.
That's all I know.
This one, I mean, Smallville with Tom Welling, I mean, he's in high school, so he's at the edge of high school to college. And this
Okay.
one, I love this show. This shows. I really did dig this. Okay, but he was number 4. Number 3, Tyler Hoechlin,
Eklund?
Superman and Lois, 2002 21 and still
Yeah, have you
going
seen this?
strong. No.
It's actually
Have you
pretty
seen
good.
this? Oh, okay.
I've seen a few episodes. Thanks again to Josiah.
Oh, okay. Well, this is on the CW in the Arrowverse, and so he is part of that. Let's see. Superman and Lois is one of the CW's highest rated series and was renewed for a third season. All right, if you keep track, we got only 2 more. Here we go. Christopher Reeve.
Okay.
Superman and Superman 2, 19 through 1980. Yes, he's arguably the most wholesome version of heroes thus far. Christopher Reeve sells the part flawlessly. He takes the sweet, considerate, undeniable, helpful, using X-ray vision and screen. Lois Lane for lung cancer, informing us that he doesn't drink when he flies. Yeah, there's definitely a purity to Christopher Reeve's version of Superman.
Keep it track.
Number 1, they have Henry Cavill, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League, 2013 to 2017. Woof, I don't know about this. It says, as far as the role of Superman, Henry feels the most like he's Superman rather than someone in a suit. His attitude of humble, kind, and initiate-driven of out of this world weariness. He's just a little grittier than his normal Superman, and he doles out hard justice when it's necessary. Cavill's Superman openly expressed that he controls him, but he doesn't mean he isn't an ally. Kind. Man,
I feel like this is the kind of question, almost like when we ask Star Wars fans, like, what's your favorite trilogy of movies? It will probably be whatever one you were exposed to, like when you kind of came of age.
That's a really good observation. I would totally agree with that, because it's like, well, what did you grow up? Who's your Superman you grew up with? And I think that's where you land.
Yeah, if I were to kind of like step outside of myself, I would probably say Christopher Reeve. Just given what I know about Superman.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, maybe he's a little cheesy, but that's the essence of his character. He's just a good person underneath all that.
Yeah.
But my heart says Henry Cavill, because like that was really my kind of first major exposure to Superman. And I don't like how his Superman was written, but I like the way he was acted and what Henry Cavill was trying to portray underneath all that. I just wish if it was written differently, I think he would be like perfect, like 100% Superman.
I think Henry has a look, and just like we talked about the fun facts, I mean, dude, swole, dude. He looks amazing. And you realize, like I said, when he puts on a suit, it's like, yeah, that's my Superman, But there is a tenderness to Christopher that it gets overlooked. He's just like, it's the Spider-Man line, with great power comes with great responsibility. And like, there's a scene in the diner, gets punched in the face, and he's just restraining himself because he could plow this guy, but he doesn't. And I like that portrayal. I like that portrayal that, like, it's the same thing. And like, it's like Jesus, you could do anything. But he holds back and he lets humans mess up and learn from their mistakes. And I feel like Superman understands his power, but it's restrained for a good reason, and he only uses it a little bit. And that's where I'm with you as well. Like, I think Henry acts and looks, but like I said, for buildings and humanity and everything else, to like Henry. But I have a soft spot for Tom Welling portrayal as a high school coming of age adults Superman as well. I think he does a really good job in that. If I had to pick, it would have to be Christopher Reeve, because there's something about that tenderness that is really the essence of Superman, like that constraint. Even though he's so powerful, there's that humility and humbleness that really comes through in that version of Superman.
Yes. I would really love to see like Henry Cavill portray a Superman written like Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
I think that might be the best of both worlds.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Although I'm really intrigued by Tom Welling, that Smallville portrayal of Superman. So I find that idea of like Superman trying to come to grips with himself and the world and who he is in that, alongside a kind of coming of age adolescent story.
Yes.
I think that's
Yeah.
really, really interesting. I just don't know if I can handle that much Switchfoot on the soundtrack. So we'll see.
That's awesome, dude.
they are, but you know,
I know
that
I know.
era of music was very much of its time. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, bro. Yeah. I mean, there's a little cheesiness to it, you know, because it is like a, you know, weekly show, and obviously they have to stretch it out a little bit. But
What was it?
there's
CW?
yeah, CW. Yeah, same thing, CW.
Okay.
But there's just, I don't know, there's some charm with Tom, and I it's the same thing. Like, it's the moral structure that he gets from the Kents that really plays really well. It really does. And
Yeah.
Papa Kent dies, and there's, you know, then Mama Kent's by herself, and there's just like that hurt and that pain. I love all that stuff. I love the humanity part of it that makes it really, really well, you know. I think too, it goes, I mean, we have to mention that we should have got a little bit more of Henry. In fact, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, like the Rock, fought to get him in Black Adam picture. Like, he went to the top.
Oh.
The Rock
Okay.
pulled no stops. Rock pulled no stops. He bulldozed his way. Said, I don't care what you guys are planning. I want Henry in my film. Like, I need him in my film. And really what he was trying to set up was this kind of antithesis of Black Adam versus Superman. That's ultimately, if you read between the lines. But and Warner Brothers bungled this whole thing from start to finish and soured their relationship with The Rock so much that he basically wrote them off. Even though he fought so hard to get Henry in the pick, you know, which is great. I mean, honestly, it's the last time I see Henry in the Superman tights. Hopefully, maybe someday, I don't know, we might get him again. But with James Gunn coming over to DC, the big shakeup, he basically came out and said, yeah, we're moving a different direction, and thanks, Henry.
That's what I'm hopeful for. I said it last week, but
yeah,
I don't think it was an accident that he's like, hey, here's my Superman movie, and then he puts up a picture of All-Star Superman. I'm like,
yes. Yeah. James Gunn is fantastic. Like, he's just got a way with characters, and I don't know if he's a musical supervisor, but everything music is cued perfectly to what is going on the screen. And if you see John Cena and Peacemaker and James Gunn, what he could do with some oddball, it's phenomenal. It's second to none. It's so good. So I'm excited to see what James and what he can do with Superman and what we're gonna see. But just the small part of me, I'm like, man, I want to see more Henry. Just, can we somehow help him out, you know?
Yeah. Superman aside, like, if I could be anybody, it would be Henry Cavill, because I want to be swole like him, but also like
He's
build PCs and talk about Warhammer 40K lore and be the Witcher.
I'm telling you what, Henry is the truest nerd, and it's not even fake. I'm saying like
No, it's genuine.
it's genuine. I think that's what makes Mark Hamill very attractive because
Yeah.
he was going to Comic Cons before they were cool, and he understood that as he passed, he could not shake the role of Luke Skywalker like he couldn't Hollywood. I mean, his portrayal of the Joker, everything about it, like he understood that.
Yeah.
He really feel like Henry's like that next Mark. It's like he's film PC and he's Hammer, and the fact he has so much star power.
Yeah.
Hammer, like on the big screen, like he did that all himself.
Yeah.
An effort, like
he's not even shy about it. He doesn't apologize for it.
No.
He just he's everything.
Yeah. He's right. And I mean, he works out, you know, it's just like and I'm sad to see that he stepped away from The Witcher because I think he was gonna Superman. I don't know. You never know what happened there.
Yeah. I'm reading between the lines here, but it sounds like he saw where they were going with, or where they wanted to go with The Witcher, and kind of disagreed about it from a creative standpoint. Yeah. I'm inclined to trust him on that. I'm reading between the lines. I don't know the whole thing, but I think if he feels strongly enough about it, I feel if he feels strongly enough about it to step away, that it was probably a good call. Yeah. That's my faith in him, but I don't know. We may never know.
We know, right. There's things we will never know, but I'm interested to see where he goes. But man, I do like you said, he could play a Christopher Reeve type, and I know he could pull it off, and I think that would be like so. There you have it. 10 years, the happy 10th anniversary of Man of
Steel, Superman.
Superman.
Okay, that means it's time for news of the week.
Oh.
All right, we're so busy blabbing about Superman, we don't have a ton of time for news of the week, but here we go anyway.
Okay. Aaron. What?
Oh my God! Star Wars.
A weird drop. Star Wars. A weird drop on Sunday with a trailer, but Star Wars. This is coming. Wars.com, right from the source. Star Wars Outlaws revealed. Get the first details of Ubisoft's open world Star Wars game update. Updated. So, Massive Entertainment, Ubisoft, Lucasfilm Games pulled back the curtain today. The release of Outlaws coming to Xbox, PlayStation, PC. It is set between Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. You take in the role of K-Vet, a clever scoundrel in the galactic underworld. To attempt one of the biggest heists in the Outer Rim and you ever seen, all in the effort to start a new life. You can check out the official key art featuring Kay and her companion Nyx are perched atop her shoulder, along with a trench coat wearing BX Commander droid. Serious details to the right at the announcement trailer below. We got a new game, bro.
Hopefully, if it's not like canceled or anything, it's done.
I mean, we see the trailer, and then honestly, the next day, Ubisoft has their little thing, and we get to see actual gameplay, like our Star Wars Eclipse a couple years ago. It's the real deal. It's open world, baby. What do you think
That
about
that
this?
is important because like
Yeah.
this would be the first open world Star Wars game ever. So
Yes.
that in itself is pretty dang sweet. But yeah, the trailers themselves look pretty dope. We have like the world premiere trailer, which is all like pre-rendered cutscenes.
Yep.
That's more so just establishing the tone and the idea of what
Yes.
they're looking for. And
Right.
then we have the gameplay walkthrough. Honestly, both of them look pretty good.
I would.
What's the studio behind this? Massive Entertainment. Yeah. So
Well, it's massive.
sorry, Titanfall fans. Titanfall 3 got canceled because of this. So don't be too upset. But they've got a good pedigree of games under their belt. Yeah. So I'm tentatively excited again if they don't like pull the plug on this somewhere down the line.
Yeah. I think we're too far in the weeds, bro, that this is not getting pulled. This is not like the Amy or the Amy. Who's the Uncharted girl? Amy Hegrid?
Oh, we talked about it last week. Yeah.
I don't know. She was tied to. There's that one early of a guy kind of walking out of a thing. And there's a spaceship and an open world.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
1313?
no, it was something different. She was working on something different.
Oh. Okay.
I'll have to find it. I'll send it to you.
But 1313 was pretty far along too, and that got axed.
Ah, gosh, I know. Don't. Why do you bring that up?
I'm gonna twist the knife. I'm gonna do it.
Oh man. I mean, I watched the game. It looks good. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan. I mean, I like read. I like that open world. I think you have to make it unique outside of the Jedi Fallen Order stuff. But I like the non-scripted thing. That's what makes an open world game great,
Yeah.
Because like there's one I sent video. It's like, hey, you see a ship flying overhead. You can follow that ship and see where it lands, and could have some good stuff. Could not. Could be whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, and then they're talking about like you can fight in space, and I'm like, okay, and you can fight on the ground, okay, it's like you're embodying that ability to like just jump in your ship and go places. Or it's limited, but you still get that skill going to different places, and now you get this a little bit. I mean, again, Star Wars Galaxy is vast. They can't open it up to all the planets. But if you have a little 5 that that Jedi Survivor of Design, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
To me, pick a profession in Star Wars. If you told, I would definitely be a bounty hunter or some kind of freight guy. Just let me pick up some stuff, go to the other planet, drop some stuff off. Like
space trucking.
I want to be some space trucking, bro. I think that's kind of intriguing to me. And I think pay off really, really big. So great developer, and seeing a bit EA distance, like they're giving in the world to if you played any of the Assassin's, they go deep in lore, and even though they say fictitious, they are using a lot of historical documents to bring us together, and I really do dig that. So I'm hopeful. I just put it. I'm more hopeful because
All right.
Or yeah, I'm more hopeful because we got to see a gameplay. Because you can give me a render trailer all day and be ooh and on, but I want to see it, you know. And they had like
Yeah.
the little
Remember
bit,
Star Wars
they had a
Eclipse?
little bit. Yeah, right. They had the little bit where you can control your little guy and go push a button for you, and I was like, okay, I like this. You know, like,
Yeah.
I like that. So it's very, very interesting. Right, we
Yeah.
got a
I'm
new
interested.
game in 2024.
There you go.
Yeah. But
All right,
we'll,
what else we
be
got?
back in just a second for Star Wars Outlaws. But first up, this comes from Variety.com. Disney dates, new Star Wars movie shifts, Deadpool 3, entire Marvel slate, delays, Avatar sequels through 2031.
Oh my God, Todd.
Oh my gosh, guys. Oh my God. Big old shakeup in the movie calendar. I mean, a lot of this has to do with the writer strike, so let's figure it out before more movie delays happen. But essentially, up with the Star Wars movies and Avatar as the fifth trip to Pandora will be releasing in 2031. That is 8 years
Oh
from
my
anyone
God.
who wants to know the math.
Okay.
So Moana will be the live action Moana will be released June 27th. Deadpool 3 has up from November 8th to May 3rd. So Deadpool fans, you actually got a bump. An untitled debuting on December 18th, 2026. Avatar shifted to December 19th, 2025. Avatar 4, December 21st, 2029. Avatar 5,
Oh my God.
2031. Based on a timeline, the final Avatar movie is coming 22 years after the original 2009 Black Book. Okay. We have a massive shift.
James Cameron really believes in that idea, doesn't he?
He does.
Wow.
He's literally riding that ship and sinking with that ship, bro. You know. Okay. Captain America World moving from May 3rd to July 2024. So that's just a couple. Okay, fine. Thunderbolts.
All right.
To December 2024. Okay. Blade.
What is Thunderbolts?
February 14th, 2025. I don't know. Fantastic Four, May 2nd, 2025. Avengers Kang Dynasty is pushed back an entire year from May 1st, 2026. Avengers Secret Wars jumping from May 1st to May 7th, 2027. These are just like fake numbers now. Okay, here we go. Star Wars. With the addition of Star Wars film in December 26th, it means that two movies set in the galaxy far, far away will release in the same.
Okay.
Separate Star Wars movie is pushed
from December 19, 2025 to May 22nd, 2026. First film is set for December 17th, 2025.
Oh.
Disney hasn't premise of comments. I mean, again, we know what was announced in Star Wars Celebration. So we have the Filoni movie, we have the Dawn of the, we have Rey extended.
It's probably those movies, right?
Yeah, 3. So I don't know.
I think they've been like talking about a vague trilogy out there, out in the ether for a while, and who knows if that will ever come to pass.
Well, we're assuming the new movies, the Dawn of the Jedi, and then this kind of like new movie with Rey are going to be trilogies, but they haven't really announced that. They just said these are set these time frames, and we kind of know the Filoni one is like a standalone. It's kind of like the Avengers version of the TV shows. Like we're going to bring kind of culmination Filoniverse into reality. I just like I ditch May altogether and have these 2025, 2026, and 2027. That's my people are
Okay.
Disney stuff. I'm a big believer in Star Wars in December. I get to have Christmas, have time off, and I get to see this movie a bazillion times. Like that's what I want to do. It's a release, but like if you're gonna do it, you might as well all keep them in May. Like just pick it. Don't diddy daddle. And I think in the same year it loses again. We talk about this kind of saturation of market. It moves this. I don't know. It just loses its luster, I think.
Yeah, it's like what they should have done after Endgame was like no new Marvel for like 3 years. Give us time to miss it. Give us time to recover after the blockbuster to end all blockbusters. And instead they're just like feeding the machine as much as they can. And we have enough after a while. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Give us a break.
Yeah. I mean, I love Star Wars on the small screen and I like it, but Star Wars also needs to be on the big screen. You want to make it special. So I just feel like having I feel like having two films in the same year doesn't work. I mean, basically, we saw that part of that, with Solo, it suffered because they didn't market it well. Bob wanted to just get it out to cut its losses, and you're putting it against Avengers and Deadpool. It just doesn't make sense, and obviously if they were on a half on Twitter, they know all hell broke loose the release of The Last Jedi. So it's like,
yeah,
you're coming 6 months off of the, any plot Solo without any marketing, anything. It's like you're doomed. Like, why don't you just spread these out? You got time. I mean, some of these movies, I hate to tell, but like they're already done. They're in the bag, and they just wait. And like, okay, we're gonna release it now. I mean,
but Todd, our quarterly reports. What are we gonna tell the stockholders?
Wait a minute! You filmed a Star Wars movie yet? What are you doing?
Do you think they're still terrified after The Rise of Skywalker about like how their movies are gonna do?
100%. 100%. I think it's though. I honestly, it is Bob, and we got to get back to the big screen with Star Wars. Like, I think they're realizing, like you guys talked about last week with big shake up and stuff like that. We've been faking the numbers with the streaming stuff. So we got to chill that a little bit. Still have people like their content. They like streaming. People are used to that kind of entertainment stream, but they have to get to the big screen on these big, on these big properties. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Just to give you a rule of thumb, I guess.
Yeah.
Force Awakens made $2 billion worldwide.
Yeah.
On a budget of $245 million, which sounds like a lot, but you also have to factor in marketing costs, which a rough estimate is basically take the film's budget and that budget is what's spent on marketing. Doesn't always apply, might be more or less, but whatever. So we're talking a little less than 500 million. You get back 2 billion for Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's a
very good, in fact.
In fact, yeah, and they spent, I mean, again, as you know, they spent $4 billion with Lucas. So
Yeah. The Rise of Skywalker. Budget $275 million, so
Yeah.
more than The Force Awakens.
mhm.
Double that for marketing.
Marketing
You're coming up at almost 600 million
million. Okay.
for the total cost of it. Worldwide returns 1 billion. So
Not bad.
you're making like 400 million, which
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things is just a ton of money, but not nearly as well as
Right.
The Force Awakens did.
Right.
So I'm sure in their eyes, like that still counts as a failure in some way.
Oh, absolutely.
To you and me, the average Joe,
Joe.
like
Joe.
that's an insane success, but it's spooking some people. I would imagine.
Yeah. I think again, I feel like that's why the Rian Johnson trilogy hasn't seen the light of day. They say he's busy. I think they're not touching.
Kicking that can down the road.
Yeah, sorry. Let's keep making those murder mysteries. We can't touch you anymore.
They're very good.
I think they're fantastic. I just think they're scared. They're just scared. But Bob's pushing like, we gotta get.
Yeah, come on.
And
On delay.
Really boils down to, honestly, I don't care if they have to bake up a good story. Make sure the story's tight before.
Yeah.
We could talk to nauseum about this, but they made $2 billion accident because it was like A New Hope 2.0. They're just like, well,
yeah,
we got some of the gang back. What are we gonna do with them? I don't know, but we'll get them in the mix.
It's Star Wars.
Star Wars.
They'll watch anything.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, yeah, you're right. We would. There's just enough. There's enough good and old in The Force Awakens, regardless of what you think, and it makes it successful. But obviously with the 2 sequels, you could see that there wasn't a clear direction, and that's what failed. That if you're gonna start these new timelines on beginning and end, then you got to map that all out, and you're going to get success no matter what if you write it out. So I'm hoping they're doing that, and I'm hoping it's just pushing them a little bit and like, yo, we got to get something on the big screen. But it is, I mean, at the end of the day, we got to get this writer strike. I'm going to be watching a bunch of reruns for time here, so. Okay, switching gears back to Star Wars Outlaws. This is coming from Gizmodo.com. I just love the title, so I wanted to talk about this for just a second because it says, "Thank God Star Wars Outlaw isn't set during the rise of the Empire."
Okay, that's a good headline.
I was like, okay, I'm clicking. You got me.
Thank you, James Whitbrook.
So it says, shunting the setting of Ubisoft's promising-looking Star Wars video game does a lot for potential beyond just rehashing well-trod ground. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go into this, but it basically things we learned about Star Wars Outlaws in the days that since its review. It's focused on the galaxy, the faraway's underworld elements, its open world gameplay, the intriguing protagonist, one of the most pleasant and simple chronological shift that presents so much potential. So what they're saying is that the Empire not into the era, but one of the most fascinating periods instead is set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of Jedi, rather than before. After original Star Wars trilogy. This is great. The first primarily petty one. 20 years between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope are largely especially and continually in the Star Wars fiction. So it's essentially saying, there are, between Marvel Comics, book tie-in, Rebels, Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Bad Batch, games like Jedi Fallen Order, this year's sequel to Jedi Survivor, movies like Solo and Rogue One, that's flushed out. now we got this period between Empire and Return of the Jedi. We get to play it.
Yeah.
I'm with that. I just love the title. I had to bring that. It's true. We got a lot leading up, a lot between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and then even A New Hope to Empire a little bit. We got a little bit there, but there's not a lot between, again, Empire and Return. And as we know, it's like full blown foot on the pedal. So it's like I really like that idea of true Empire power and that kind of stuff. So should be fun. I'm excited, and it's true. It's like it's just a small shift. It's not, but it's not being rehashed. And again, you're not running over any kind of chronological landmines when you type setting. What do you think, man?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I am cautiously optimistic about this. Seems like the right pieces are falling in the right places. I like Massive Entertainment as far as the games they've made. So I think it's in good hands. I've said it before. I think it's great that EA no longer has the exclusive license to Star Wars because after like 10 years, we got like 2.5 games from them. So I think there's no, they're not. I think there's a lot more we can do with Star Wars games. We were spoiled rotten in the 2000s when it came to Star Wars games.
Yeah,
just out the wazoo. So part of me is hoping for a return to that glorified earlier period, which I know we'll never get back again. But needless to say, we could do a lot better than 2.5 kind of mediocre games in 10 years.
Yeah, and again, shift. It just helps us. We got a very Empire. The criminal underworld is at its peak. Like the Empire is allowing that to happen, and I think it's just a good. Again, inside a sandbox, you have a somewhat untouched canon lore timeline that you can really play with. You have an open world game, and that makes it for a fun time. So I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
I know we do 3, but we're going 4 just because.
Oh baby!
This is coming from Lucasfilm.com. Lucasfilm Legends celebrate Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny at the U.S. premiere. It dropped yesterday. So the Man in the Hat received quite a send-off as he embarks on his final adventure, June 14th, which is yesterday of this record. Premiered Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It was held famously at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood, a special event that saw surprise appearances from George Lucas, Spielberg, K. Am I saying that right? That's short round, right?
You tried. Yeah.
It's horribly. I'm horrible at.
He's short round to everybody.
Yes. Williams. So I saw a little bit of this. Like somebody was there filming, and they're had everybody on stage. Everybody on stage.
Okay.
And Spielberg's like MCing it. He's like, okay, we without George Lucas because he created Indiana Jones. Everybody's like, oh yeah,
hey,
yeah. And then we wouldn't be here without the man that portrayed Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. Everybody's like, oh yeah. And we wouldn't be here without the music of John Williams. Behind them rolls up. There's John Williams with the score, and he goes right into Indiana Jones.
Whoa! Oh, he conducted.
Yeah, he conducted a little piece. Yeah.
Does that man ever take a day off?
He's retired now. I mean, he's 90, but
okay.
Anyways,
let the man sleep.
Let the man rest. Georgie's there, Spielberg's there. If you want to see some pictures, obviously you can go online, people, and see some pictures. But this article has a couple of different pictures of like the sets, like they had, and they have Harrison looking dapper, and Mad Mickelson's there. So we got a little Rogue One action. Obviously, he portrays
Nice.
one of the Nazis, and then you have Phoebe and James Mangold and Harrison Ford. Whole crew. You got Bobby's there. Bob Iger's showing up, bro. It's a bit. Bobby's there. John's there.
Baby.
George's there. KK's there. I mean, the whole gang's there. Short round. Surprise Harrison Ford at the premiere too, which is fun. And we are George and together. I mean, I was thinking about this. We might have to do a podcast episode on this. I mean, can you think of like a two more influential of those guys in cinema?
I don't know.
It's
certainly of this era for film, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, because it's like Steven introduces George because of Jaws, and like like there's just again they come from what's the other guy?
USC
for Coppola. Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, yeah.
The whole all those kind of couple different actors that are or director together mishmashed together in that time frame. But I mean, George and Steven, oh my gosh, I don't know. It's just an interesting friendship that controls cinema. In such a way
almost making me want to see this movie, Todd.
So we got a bunch of there's a great picture if you scroll through. There's Harrison pointing to George. I love it. This is like this little picture. Like, hey man. But yeah, if you look through the gallery there. So yeah, I got my tickets. So I'm gonna see this. I'm gonna see this film. And interesting. One of the things that I like about this, Aaron, is that they're very clear in saying this is the end. Like I like that they're doing. This is one final adventure, and it's like, well, kind of makes sense, but like if you kind of peel back the onion a little bit and you look at Crystal Skull, it's like, well, we like Shia LaBeouf, and he might do this more. I'm glad they're just saying nope. They're saying Indy's Harrison Ford is Indy, and that's it. And I like the kind of firm finality of all our sequel generations. Yes, I realize it's a sequel. I totally understand that, but I'd like at the end of the day, they're saying this is it, and there's something to it. Like this is John Williams' final scored movie as well. So the nostalgia feels more than maybe the movie, but I don't know. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So
the end of an era.
That's right. All right, so that's all the news.
Okay, that means it's time for Cantina Chat. All right, the part of the show where we talk about everything geeky and weird going on with our lives. Todd, what is so geeky and weird about you?
Last week, and I had a super, super geeky week last week, and I wasn't here, and then this week, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I did this week. Playing a little Lego 2K Drive. 2K Games created this racing game.
The basketball?
2K Games, like basketball, football. I mean, so they're taking on a racer game for Lego, and it's quite fun. And it's
they didn't just reboot Lego Racers.
It's a whole new game.
The cowards.
And, they but it's kind of you have like 3. You can basically, when you're driving, you're on the road, you got your roadster. As soon as you hit off-road, it automatically transforms into an off-road vehicle. And then when you hit the water, it automatically transforms into a boat, like a boat. The other
It's like Diddy Kong Racing.
Yes. The other thing that's kind of cool is that you can literally design your own Lego racer. Like you can brick by brick build your own.
Yeah.
So, and then as you progress, you unlock more things that you can build with or whatever. So they got a bunch of prefab.
Did you ever play Lego Racers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's fast too. It's like pretty fast for a Lego game.
Okay.
The speed and controls are pretty cool. And so yeah, but it's kind of Lego charm, a lot of goofy stuff. Like you gotta like, people from Aliens and skeletons, and it's got goofy stuff in there. It's cool. So it's got that kind of Lego charm. It's got that Lego charm, but it's actually from a racing perspective, it's pretty good. Controls are tight. It's fast. It feels fast. Even for like kind of a kid game. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of playing that. It's pretty cool. Trent and I watched this like Netflix show called Alien Worlds, and what it does is kind of interesting. It like takes real world stuff about Earth and animals and says, okay, let's see, like as we explore the galaxy and we find these other planets, and what would life be on like these other planets that are out there in the solar system. But they intersplice it with like this is what this animal does, and so like how would that be portrayed in like an alien universe. And the CGI stuff that they use for the alien world is like really good. It's like pretty amazing. So it's kind of like they say, okay, like if you go to this planet that has dense gravity and oxygen and all this kind of stuff, what would that look like? And like how would you have like kind of a predator, a regular animal, and how would that look? And it's pretty cool. So we're only watched 2 episodes, but I was like, wow, this is actually pretty intriguing, because like they're taking real world things.
Do they just look like creatures from Spore?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No. They're like each design. They're not like these copies of copies. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so yeah.
That Jon Favreau dinosaur series on Apple TV Plus.
Wait,
you know what I'm talking about?
No, I didn't know there was a dinosaur episode. What is this?
Okay. I don't want to talk out of turn, so I'm gonna quickly Google this to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
There's a dinosaur documentary made by, or at least produced by, Jon Favreau called Prehistoric Planet. It's on Apple TV Plus, and it's filmed like a nature documentary, but it's like CGI, and it's imagining these like dinosaurs come to life, and it's like narrated like a nature documentary. Yeah, go check it out. You'll love it. So it seems like it's in that same vein.
Yeah.
It's imagining what different kinds of planets, what different kinds of creatures would be produced by different kinds of ecosystems on different planets.
Yes. And it's like using
that is really cool.
Yeah, it's like using Earth as a foundation, and like how would that look in an world, and with different creatures. So again, like we're only a second episode. I think it's only like 6 or 8 episodes, but I mean the CGI is top notch, and it's like, wow, this is really cool.
Dang.
Really cool.
Okay.
So, yeah, thanks for finding that. I was like, oh, let's check this out. And like,
so
and then started this book called Secrets of the Force. And what's interesting about this is that these two guys basically are telling like an oral history of Star Wars by
Okay.
taking different quotes from people and putting it in like a chronological order. So
Hmm.
Explaining
how Star Wars came to fruition and under struggles of like how Star Wars was not almost like it was like on the verge of not made, and even when it was being made, it was like they're about to pull the plug. And so, but
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. All different kind of people, like George himself, and so they're taking all these quotes that have been said and like together into making it like a cohesive story, which is interesting. So
Huh.
I'm really enjoying that. Yeah. Again, you really understand the struggle. The struggle is real with making a new man. It's like, and yeah, it's just kind of cool. Understanding those relationships, and Francis Ford Coppola and Steven Spielberg and like all that stuff. You understand, and talking about that friendship. Steven, there's like a group of 7 or 8 that are all kind of in cahoots, and George does an early screening
Yeah.
of Star Wars and stuff like that. Steven's the only one that said this is going to be really good. Like out of all,
Really?
just this is going to be really good, and everybody's all like, "This is garbage." George,
Wow.
what are you
They're
doing?
like Job's friends.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, what are you doing sitting around like this? Let's get up and let's just party. Oh, man,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so it's kind of like it's like almost it's kind of interesting because I mean, again, I'm listening through audio, so but they're quoting different. So I don't like, I can't visually, like, I'm not, but it's just different quotes from different people, and so they're like putting it all together, which is kind of interesting. Interesting way to tell. It's almost kind of like a campfire kind of story about Star Wars. So that's what makes it kind of cool. It's like
Yeah.
from different perspectives in those timelines. So yeah, it's super interesting.
I think I would have to like see an excerpt of this because I'm trying to imagine what it would be like in my head and having a little trouble. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's like
maybe they have like a sample on the Kindle store or whatever.
Yeah. But it's basically, we're going to talk to Gary about Gary Kurtz, the producer, and then we're switching to Steven, then we're switching to George, and then we're switching all over people that are, Phil Tippett and all these people that made Star Wars or part of Star Wars, and it's kind of slice, and yeah, it's very interesting, very very interesting. So reading that, and I think that's about it for me. How about you?
Okay.
Aaron?
Well, Todd, we were talking before the show started taping, where I was sure that I had like watched a show or a movie that I really liked, and it just came to me. It just came to me. I was about to say how it hasn't come to me yet. I watched Enemy at the Gates, or Enemy at the Gate, one of the two.
Enemy at the Gate.
Yeah. So this came out 2001, I want to say, and it's a British movie about the siege of Stalingrad in World War II, specifically following Vasily Zaitsev. He's like the Russian sniper in World War II with like the largest number of confirmed kills. I believe.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Something on the order of like 300 kills. And
that's insane.
I thought it was a pretty interesting movie because the crux of the whole movie is basically it's like this protracted duel between Vasily Zaitsev, who's kind of like the hero of the story. He's this like shepherd boy like peasant who is like what's the word when you're forced into a war against your own will? Conscripted. He's conscripted into World War II, and he just kind of turned out to be a really good sniper, had a knack for it. So
Right.
that's what he did. And he became this kind of like folk hero for the Soviet Union. And he's in this duel with this German sniper who they bring in specifically to like hunt him down. He's played by Ed Harris, so it's already fantastic. Vasily Zaitsev is Jude Law, and he. I find it really interesting because I'm somewhat of a history buff when it comes to World War II, and the way the movie portrays the story is pretty interesting. You have, on the one hand, Vasily, he's friends with this one guy who's like a political officer, a commissar in the Red Army. And his whole deal is that he doesn't really fight, but he's more tasked with like spreading propaganda for the army to basically like get them to fight. And
right.
they're struggling at this point because there's this famous like opening scene of the movie where Vasily like arrives at Stalingrad, and immediately he's like brought in on a train with like hundreds of other soldiers, and immediately they go like from the train, they're like loaded out onto a boat, and they have to cross the Volga River. And as they're going, it's like it's not as intense as like the Saving Private Ryan D-Day landing scene, but it's almost there.
It's almost there.
Because yeah, you have like MG-42 fire coming from across the river. You have Stuka dive bombers that are just like strafing the boats as they're slowly kind of pedaling across. And like people are ducking and taking cover, but they're still getting like hit by bullet fire as it goes past. And the Soviet strategy at the time was, not one step backward. Like if anybody like retreats, we're just going to shoot them as traitors. And so people are like leaping out of the boats, like trying to swim for their lives, and their officers just like go over and like shoot them in the back.
And serious?
Yeah. This is the thing that actually happened. And so he gets to the other side of the Volga, and they are so undersupplied that they only have enough rifles for half the dudes. So so they're like handing out supplies to everybody, and it's like first man gets the rifle, second man gets like a clip of ammo. When the first man dies, the second man gets the rifle and loads and shoots. Yeah. And yeah, so Vasily, like he doesn't get the rifle, he gets like the little stripper clip of ammo. And so you're with him already, where you just like want him to succeed, because he's like in this infantry charge across the red square, and he doesn't even have a rifle. He's just like running along, and he's like, he goes for a rifle at one point, and somebody else gets it before he does, and it's like, it's brutal. And so yeah, that charge fails, and then they have to retreat, and then the Russian officers have already set up like a machine gun behind them to just like mow down anybody who retreats. So yeah, this movie is not kind to the portrayal of the Soviet Union. I know that's a thing that they did. I don't know how widespread it was. There's some criticism about like how it portrays it, but so you have that, and Vasily, his like commissar friend that he makes, basically sees Vasily as like a folk hero, and he uses him as like a propaganda thing to like give soldiers something to hope for. Because up until this point, their only inspiration to keep fighting is that if they don't, they're going to get shot. So it's like either the Russians' bullets or the Germans' bullets. But now you have like a hero that you can aspire to. And there's this great scene with Khrushchev at the time, who actually served in the war, who's played by Bob Hoskins, which like completely caught me by surprise.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but it's a British production, so it makes sense. But yeah, he plays Khrushchev, and he's like trying to find a way to like motivate these men to fight. And so yeah, it's very interesting where his commissar friend is trying to frame this as like class warfare, because you have Vasily, who's like a peasant, a shepherd, like a man of the people.
Right.
Yeah, who's just like in the right place and at the right time and is very skilled as a sniper.
Time.
And then you have the guy who's trying to hunt him down, Colonel Koenig or Major Koenig, who is this
Who's a professional
German noble.
professional.
Yeah, he's learned how to hunt by like hunting down like elk on
Right.
like protected royal grounds. He has like the finest like training and gear that you could ask for. So that's kind of the setup. And there's some character moments in there where they're like, oh, socialism isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Because like, oh yeah, Ron Perlman shows up. He's like a character who's like,
Of course.
he's like fighting for the Soviets and he's like Russian, but he has not been treated well by the Soviet Union. They like busted his teeth in, so he just has like grills for teeth.
Okay.
And so he's like, hey, socialism isn't all it cracked up to be, because like once you're on the wrong side of it, like they just take you out. Which I don't know, that felt kind of
forced,
kind of wedged in for some reason. I'm not sure why, because like if it was an American movie, I would understand why, because it's like, oh yeah, duh, capitalism, 2001, like
right.
It makes
America.
sense. But it's a British movie, so I don't know what to scratch that up to. But I found it very interesting to have not only this kind of like larger stakes to their duel, but also the duel itself is like really super tense and interesting. They're using different tactics to try to like outsmart each other, and it plays out in a way that it feels very believable and like two people trying to outsmart each other instead of, oh, the script says I get the upper hand now. You know what I mean?
Right. I know what you mean. Yep. It feels.
Yeah. So,
real.
yeah. So I don't know why I watched it now instead of any other time. This has just been on my list of movies to watch for a long time, and I finally got around to it. But yeah, Enemy at the Gates. It's pretty great. Go check it out.
If you haven't,
yeah.
2 years later, here we go.
If watching dirty Russians crawl around in the dirt isn't your idea of fun, then give it a pass. But yeah, I watched that, and I've been getting swole. So
watch out, Henry.
I've been
watch out.
I'm coming for you. So I've been like lifting off and on inconsistently for a while now, but with my job, it'll take too long to explain, but with my job, when I go there, there's a building nearby with a gym that they let us use for free.
Okay.
So I've been just going there on my lunch break when I go into work.
Yeah.
And I've been lifting consistently for like a month and a half now. Okay. And when I started, I was squatting 160, and today I broke 200. Nice. So I've been making some like really good progress along the way. Yeah. I don't know. It's been like a kind of special interest of mine for a while now, and I've never had a really good way to talk about it, but this time I'm actually like measuring like what I'm doing and keeping track of it and comparing it to like how far I've come.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I'm hitting some pretty good milestones.
Yeah. Henry,
I worked out today.
Out.
Yeah,
Henry,
I always feel like way better when I exercise, and I guess I'm just like, I'm turning 29 this year, and I'm realizing like you got to look out for your health, because like it's not really ever going to get better. You can either maintain it or it gets worse.
Right. Right. It can go really down, or you could just kind of. Oh, right.
Yeah. But for real, like I have never really taken like physical fitness like all that seriously. But I've found a way to do it that's like really fun, and I can track my progress, and hopefully has some body changes as well. I don't know if I'm far enough along to really notice that yet, but Yeah, I'm just
But-
kind of like getting my act together.
Right. Right. Well, you know. Yeah,
And
like
yeah,
you said, it's kind of
Feels
like
good once you.
once you
Yeah.
set the goals and once you see progress that hey, I'm a person, but I'm doing a little bit more. That's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where the weight on the bar will actually cause it to like bend a little bit, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
bend the bar, bro.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw that, bro, but it's bending.
Yeah.
That's
So,
great, dude.
Yeah, I've
That's
been
great.
doing
Yeah,
that, really enjoying
it's
it.
fun. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, that's good. Good, man.
So yeah, if you like check back in a few months and on the YouTube video, I'm just like filling the frame. You'll know why.
Yeah, like you lose, you have like no back, and it's just like
Yeah.
you're like traps or like these triangles.
Well, that's how you know when
Yeah,
someone's doping.
yeah. You like can't move your neck at all. You're like, yeah, man, that was cool. Like you're just like so dope.
Oh
Swole.
man.
But
Don't-
that's great.
Don't Google synthol if you want to have a good time, because that's a whole ball of wax as far as like weird things people use to try to get bigger. Synthol is not recommended.
Is
So
synthol like a thing that people use?
yeah, synthol is like almost like mineral oil, and some people use that because it's like an artificial way to like inflate the size of like a muscle, but it's super not good for you. Don't do it because
Yeah.
you'll get like really weird shapes first of all, but also like that synthol can like rot and like turn your muscle necrotic.
Cool. Sounds great.
Jogging the memory, I watched a different documentary called Bigorexia on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
The technical quality of the documentary is like terrible. They had like
Okay.
3 different film crews, and like one of them knew what they were doing. But
right.
the actual like discussion I thought was pretty
Yeah.
worthwhile. And there's a guy in Russia who he's like a regular like skinny dude, but
Uh-huh.
he has something going on where he wants like the biggest biceps possible, and so he like injected his biceps with like synthol, which is like this mineral oil, and he looks like Popeye. Where it's just it's bad, and he got it to the point where like his muscles started to like rot and had to be like scraped out through surgery.
Dude.
and- It's really sad. Yeah, it's really sad because like his mindset was not, why am I doing this? I shouldn't have done this, but I just did it wrong. I got the dosage wrong. And he still has this kind of like mismatch where he's like, I need to look like this, even though it's like disastrous for him.
So
which is
you're telling me that
super common.
he took it so much that his muscles rotted and then they had to take him out basically?
Yeah, the synthol that he was using, like basically started to like putrefy in his body, and that like caused his muscle to rot. It's bad. So
Yeah.
he's
gets
kind of
full
like
naturally.
a
Just gets full
fringe.
naturally.
He's kind of like a fringe edge case, but they also talk about a lot of I guess this is the third Cantina Chat item. The Bigorexia document, it talks about how they talk with a lot of like social media influencers who like use steroids, and they take it from like a bodybuilding perspective as far as like professional competitions and stuff, but the kind of underlying theme of it is a lot of people are just like really not happy with how they look, and
Yep.
there's this mismatch between what they see in the mirror and what they actually look like. And truth be told, this is something that like I've kind of struggled with over time.
I think
I've
it's
not really
like
been
every-
open about it.
Yeah, I mean, he struggles with this. I think it's a human thing. you know?
Yeah.
The more you look in the mirror, the more flaws you're going to find about yourself. And it's also a
Yeah.
reflection of like who you are internally. It's like a deeper reflection of your inner turmoil, or your inner struggles. So the longer you're self-reflective, like you're going to find flaws everywhere, but I think
Yeah.
it's overhyped when you are in a competition or you're trying to get bigger. Then the next person next to you is doing more and might be in a it like might be a couple inches shorter than you or bigger than you, and you're like, I need to do this. Or I just read somewhere like he was tall or he was short, and then he got like lifts, and it like they
Oh yeah, yeah.
broke his legs, and now he's like, oh
yeah.
yeah, now I get more girls. And it's like, well, I guess if that's what you're looking for, then okay, now you're taller. But like there's all these repercussions if you do.
What's the price of that?
Right. Plastic surgery or roids or mineral oil or whatever the latest dietary pill is. It's like if you do those stuff, everyone's looking to get that kind of quick fix.
Yeah.
Like no one goes. Well, again, like to me, one of my Arnold Schwarzenegger is like he was ridiculous, but it's like there's a price to be paid for that. Like no matter what you do naturally or unnaturally, guys, all the big guys that were before, I mean, Arnold's still in good shape, but he's not the way he was in the 70s because you can't maintain that, or all the you look at all the wrestlers and what they did to their bodies catches up with them as they get older, and it's super,
it does.
It's sports, it's whatever you want to call it, but like the new thing is like, with social media and influencing, it's like I need to be this perfect right now, and it's like, what's the cost? What's the cost? What are you willing to? And that's, so, but I think everyone, it's human. I am not who I want to be here. I don't like what I look like, and I want to change nature. But like how far you go, again, it's something you gotta live with, regardless. So.
Yeah. Yeah, they had one subject on there who he was like a pro bodybuilder, and he had to quit because like the steroids that he was using, he got like an infection in his ass, and they, to their credit, they just like very like take a very unglamorized look at it, where like one of the first shots of the documentary is he's laying down, buck naked, getting his like wounds cleaned out by a nurse. And it's like, yeah, that's what you're risking with stuff like this. And
you're making my
more so on
man, like, oh god,
like, and like and like more so, it's about steroids, but not really. It has a bit of a wider look at it, and when it comes to bodybuilding, it is a thing that you have to build your life around in order to compete at the top levels of it, as well as use steroids in order to compete at the top levels.
Right.
That for a lot of people, they like build their identity on this stuff, where the guy who had to quit, he's like, even without steroids, like getting at a really good level takes a lot of like discipline and hard work and a lot of like finicky details that you need to take into account.
Right.
So like bodybuilding's not easy just to begin with, but to get like super competitive, it has to be your life. And he's like, now that I had to quit, like, what have I got left? Like, he's like a stay-at-home dad, and no shade at stay-at-home dads, but it's not the life that he envisioned or wanted for himself. And so what do you do after that? They even had a trans woman on there who
Yeah.
got famous in the bodybuilding scene as a man and transitioned and just got like a whole ton of flack. Yeah, and because
Yeah.
there's this huge hubbub in the media about like trans athletes and
Yes. Yeah,
should
like,
trans
yes.
women be able to perform or compete as women, or
Women.
should they compete as men?
Yeah.
And from this person's point of view, her whole thing was like, you know, trans athletes have been allowed in the Olympics since 2004, but there's not been this tidal wave of, you know, trans women athletes getting the gold. Like, none of them have. So if it was really this big deal, like, we should have seen this by now, and we haven't. But her whole point of view was like, you know, as a woman now, like, I have this huge, like, masculine frame, and I've been trying to size down to feel more feminine. But part of my whole identity was like getting as big as possible so that I feel safe. So it's really weird to try to find a middle ground with that.
Yeah.
So really fascinating look at like how we perceive ourselves, how we build our identities, and how that's connected to our body. And I found it interesting because like I haven't talked about it much on the show, but you know, body dysmorphia is something that like I've struggled with between like alopecia and just like growing up and going through puberty like everybody else. But like I've yeah, and I like visualize myself as like much skinnier than I actually am. And strangely enough, it was like modeling for art classes that really helped me with that, because I could see objectively, or as close to objectively as possible, how other people viewed me. And I realized, oh, I'm not super skinny like I thought I was.
Right.
So that's been very weird. And it's not like I have that whole thing resolved, but yeah, Bigorexia on Amazon Prime. If any of that sounds interesting to you, I hope it does, and you haven't switched off 15 minutes ago. But I thought it was fascinating. Even if it was not the most technically adept documentary I've seen, I thought the conversations around it were really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's super present right now, of like, you know, again, people, like you said, transitioning, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's all comes down to identity and like what you're identifying with. And if you don't get that fixed, you know, or you're happy who you are, everybody seesawing. And
yeah,
becoming more accepted, when at the end of the day it's like, I don't know, like, you need to ground yourself and say, you know, and get that established. Obviously there's everyone trying to discover who they are, but like, if you're basing yourself on this one thing, you're not going to be happy. Bottom line, you know, like I said, you could be the biggest dude with the guns, you know, like you have the biggest guns, but then again, like that guy, like, what's the cost? Now you're having surgery to rip the stuff. Man.
Yeah, and
it's like deep stuff.
It's tough too, because like there's a lot of great things about weightlifting and bodybuilding as far as like patience, endurance, discipline.
Yes.
And
all good qualities.
Really reckoning with yourself and like what you can accomplish physically. Like, those are all really great things. And even, you know, being able to like change how you look, and being able to enjoy like looking attractive to other people.
Yeah, right.
Like,
nothing wrong with that.
That's a whole thing.
Right.
But when it becomes your whole life, then it's just really wild what human psychology and what people are willing to do to maintain that.
Willing to cheat to maintain that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, right? Like, you're right. There's nothing wrong with exercising, looking good, feeling attractive. So you are attractive and to others, but like, it's the next part of that psychology trip is like, well, I want to be this, so if I take this, it's like,
And there's like a
One man,
whole other
like-
conversation we could have about like
Right.
Henry Cavill and him wanting to do it naturally and the lengths that Hollywood will go for these like unrealistic body types. Even so far, I mean, steroids is a part of it for sure, but even as far as like CGI enhancement, where you'll have like a team of visual effects artists working for months just to like animate this enhancement on like this neck muscle for like the Green Lantern or something, and it's like it's wild, and the impact that has downstream on everybody else who feels like they don't measure up to that. We're not ready for that.
I think we found another subject we could talk about.
Oh man, I'm in a good mood, and you've activated my special interest trap card.
Fire me up. Yeah. So, moral of the story is you're lifting weights. Good job.
Yes, feeling good.
Feeling good.
Getting
swole.
stronger than I've ever
Getting
been. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah. So next time
Okay.
we show up, and we're doing like a hollow transmission, like with Ben and Ray, and you just kind of turn around.
I'll
you
wear
have
my
you have no like shirt on. You like what's up?
yeah. I'll wear my highest waisted pants.
Wasted. Oh man, I can't wait for that day.
All right.
Let's get out of get us
Shall
out
we?
Of here. Yeah, get us out of here.
All right. Thanks again for listening to another episode of WSTR Galactic Public Access. You can find us on the socials. Carla at Carla Marie Giac, Todd at Tizad, myself at Aaron Julian. We're part of the Red 5 Network at Red 5 Network. We want to hear from you, so please comment, tweet, rate us on Apple Podcast. If you give us a 5-star rating, we'll throw some swag right into your face via your mailbox, presumably. You can catch our entire back catalog of episodes at podcast.wstrmedia.com. We got merch over at store.wstrmedia.com. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/wstrmedia. Thanks for everybody for hanging out with us in the YouTube chat. You can catch us at livestream.wstrmedia.com every Thursday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time. If you have any ideas for a show or you would love us to interview someone, drop us a line at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. Leave us a voicemail. We could play it on an upcoming episode. You can be on WSTR. Yes, you.
What?
Or you can correspond with us to secure that guest.
That's right.
Okay. Next week, you're not going to want to miss it. We are doing Star Wars Trivia 3, hosted by our very own Todd.
That's right. That's
So
right.
you're not going to want to miss that.
Gonna blow your minds with knowledge.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Todd, there's only one way to end this show. Now, this is podcasting. Man of Steel. It sucks.